We are days away from this year's World's Strongest Man, which means every year we sit down and we come up with our own groups. And today we're doing it a little bit differently. So Auntie Liz, every year you and me sit down, we try and plan out the best groups, we try and use the knowledge that I have from being at World's Strongest Man 11 times in the past to understand how World's Strongest Man will put them together, and in the end, we're never right anyway. So this year we're simplifying things. We have seeded 10 athletes, we've got 3 tubs here with names in them.
Yeah.
We have a top 5 seeds,
Yeah.
we have a 6 to 10 seeds, and we have the rest. And we're gonna just pick out names randomly and see how they end up.
Yeah, so usually we do those seeds, don't we? And then we try and make sure there's an American in each group, a Brit in each group, and we know that's how worlds operate. So this they would probably never do, but it's a suggestion I see every single year, and I kind of think, what if? Right, so group number 1, take our first seed, Lasse.
So these are our top 5 athletes. So I'm pretty sure most of you'll guess who we've put into this little tub, but I will pick a name out. Oh, number 1.
Mitch Hooper.
Mitch Hooper.
Okay. And number 2 seed in the group.
I feel like there's a lot of pressure with this.
Just do it, Lottie. Take a number 2.
Take a number 2. Number 2 in group number 1, Gav Bilton.
Gav. There you go.
Do you want to take... Hey, can't all be putting me to do this pressure.
Okay, so
Right.
now 4 more athletes. So rounding off group number 1, we've got Mitch, Gav. We also have Austin Andrade.
Ooh. He is going to be dangerous for a lot of people.
Adam Rosowski, who has just won Strongman Champions League.
Which I think is crazy, a couple of days before
I know.
World's Strongest
Everyone
Man.
else was
But
travelling.
fair play to him.
Ooh, Andre Foytu.
Andre Foytu.
He's got really good events in the group stages.
We'll talk more about that in a second.
Oh, and Kane Francis.
Kane Francis. That's not a bad group. I mean, there's some big names in there. Obviously, Mitch Hooper. Gav was one of the guys I wasn't sure whether we would put into our top 10. I would have said 100% by the end of last year and towards Britain's Strongest Man this year, he was a top 10. His results since then haven't been so good.
Well, do you know what? Interestingly, we put him as our 10th seed.
We did.
And we had Mitch as our first seed. So that is who we would have put together.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No, it is indeed. So yeah,
okay.
group number 1 for the Big Loz official groups. Now that, to me, is a very interesting group because I feel Mitch Hooper is the number 1 in that group.
Favourite.
However, I don't feel Gav is a guaranteed second place in that group. And also, I don't see an incredible stone lifter in that group. So you could have a very exciting stone off. Come the end of it, a lot of athletes could battle for a place in the final from this group.
You say not an incredible stone lifter. Gav is good at stones. Kane Francis is good at stones.
Gav is good at stones, and Kane is good at stones, but they're not incredible stone lifters.
They're not the best.
They're not like the people that you kind of talk about when you think about, a Maxime Boudreau in a stone off, or even what we saw last year from Rauno and Brian Shaw, or a Trey Mitchell. There's no one like that in there. I think whoever gets into the second place would be feeling confident going into the stones.
Well, I think Andre Foytu would come second place in that group. We already know the group events are very, very good for him. He came 4th. But he dropped so many points on the stones. I would worry about him in a stone off.
Well, we will see what happens. It's not an official group anyway, but in our fantasy world, I think it's a good group, and I think it could make for an exciting battle come the end of a group stage. Right, you can take the seeds this time. Okay. I'll do the
other 4.
Yes.
So group number 2 is going to be headed up by Trey Mitchell.
Trey Mitchell.
There we go.
I've seen some comments, people saying Trey shouldn't be in a top 5 seed position. I think that's ridiculous.
I still have Trey as a top 5. He's come 4th at Worlds twice before.
Including last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, he's the 2-time winner of the Shore Classic.
Pavlo Cordiaca. Interesting. Okay, and now do you want to take the other 4 that would be in that group with them?
Joining Trey and Pavlo in our fantasy groups. Paro Dwyer.
Oh, interesting.
Tristan Huith. He's been doing very well recently.
Yeah, very nice.
Ooh, this one is the danger man for a lot of people. Jacco Schoonwinkel. Now, I know a lot of people probably think that Jacco should be top 10. The only reason I haven't put Jacco into our top 10 seeds is literally we have last year's Worlds to go off.
Yeah, it
One
was really
competition
hard.
with a particular set of events. Now, I'm mega impressed with him, but I just don't feel he's done enough to warrant being a guaranteed top 10. But he's one of those guys that would be super dangerous.
Yeah.
And he won his group last year.
He won the group last year.
Can he do it again? And then finally, Spencer Remick.
That would be a really interesting group. So we already know these aren't the absolute best events for Trey or Pavlo.
No.
Trey, we saw him do the nickel stones once at the Strongman Classic last year, and he came last on that. So it's going to be a bit of a rough start for Trey, I imagine. But he does have some other good events in there. Viking press, he holds the record on. Yeah, with the giant slide setup. So
and
that
obviously a
would be
very
interesting.
good stone lifter.
Yeah.
What's it like coming back from that torn Achilles? That's the big question with Trey.
Pa and Pavlo, I believe, were tied on points at Europe's Strongest Man using these
Similar events.
Basically the same events, yeah. So that would be an interesting battle there. Tristan Hoth.
He's been fantastic
I wouldn't
recently.
be surprised to see him in the top 3. But also Yako and Spencer. Yeah, that would be interesting.
From memory, Yako's weakest event has been Atlas Stones.
Yes. So the year he podiumed at OSG, he was leading almost the whole way, but he dropped massive points on the Atlas Stones. He doesn't want to be in a stone off, I assume.
Yeah,
so.
but he's proven he can win groups in tough groups before.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Spencer is a great all-round strongman, actually a good stone lifter as well.
Very good at car walk as well, Spencer.
So we move on to group number 3. I'm going to do the seeds this time. Who have we got coming out? Evan Singleton.
T-Rex. There we go.
And Evan is joined by Bobby Thompson.
Ooh, that would be a fun little mix in there. So the 4 that we would have join them, 1, 2, 3, 4, would be Nathan Galtrey. Interesting. He's got some good events.
He does indeed.
Eddie Williams.
Yeah, Eddie's got some great events as well. We know how good he is at Stonewalk.
Yeah, him versus Evan on that would be really interesting. Nick Canby.
Can be.
He's an exciting athlete. And then Rauno. Oh my goodness.
That's an interesting group.
That would be an interesting group. I mean,
I believe Evan Singleton, if he can hold it together, is one of the big favourites for the whole competition.
Yeah.
I don't feel there's a bad event in there for Evan. I think he's going to be a major threat at World's Strongest Man this year, and I'd expect him to win the group. There's no...
Yeah.
When you look at the events in the heats, they're all very good. He's a car walk, he's exceptional at. He's got a very good grip, decent at stone walking, decent Viking press. And one thing I think about, we talk about deadlift. Some people have said it's a weakness. I've kind of said on certain deadlifts it's a weakness. His lockout power is not as good as some others. However, this year it's not a deadlift for max or deadlift for reps. It is a deadlift ladder, and he is one of the most explosive and fast deadlifters there is. If he doesn't make a mistake, I could see him beating absolutely anyone.
He's got
in
great
a deadlift
grip
ladder.
as well, yeah.
Great grip, lifts very explosively, very fast.
that would be a really exciting deadlift group, actually, having Evan, Bobby and Rauno in there.
That's some strong deadlifters in there for sure.
It's interesting. I think Evan would win that group. If Rauno could squeak into a stone off, he could beat any of them in a stone off, I think.
Yes, he could. He could. Like I've said this before, and I coach Bobby. Bobby really needs to win a group if he wants to get through, or have a weak stone lifter against
Opposite him, yeah.
He doesn't. He's got a few issues with stones, having both bicep issues,
Ankles,
yeah.
toes.
It's just. It's not that he's terrible by any means, but when you're talking about World's Strongest Man level, it's a weakness. He'd certainly need to be going in second place a field, and
even then it's going to be tough.
He'd want to avoid Rauno for sure, but there's no terrible lifters in there, so it could be a tough group. For me, the favourite in that one would be Evan for sure, and then a tough battle. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Rauno get through that group.
So group number 4, Matt Ragg would be our number 1 seed in that group. I think Matt has earned it.
Yep.
And then Ivor Schmaukstelis. He squeaked into our top 10 this year.
And rightly so.
Yeah, he was 1 fraction, 100th of a second away from winning Europe's Strongest Man. Had he taken his hands off 100th of a second faster than Luke, he would have won Europe. So we've popped him in our top 10.
Just a good competitor.
Good all-rounder. Interestingly, these two were in the group together last year and ended up in the stone off together. Okay, choose 4 athletes to join them.
So we have joining our seeds Kevin Ferris.
Okay.
Kevin actually has some very good events in the heats.
Yeah, especially with that stone walk.
Wesley Dewinski.
Interesting one. Okay.
Thomas Evans, definitely dangerous.
Yeah.
And Oscar Zilkowski.
Interesting. Okay.
What do you think of this group?
I would expect Matt and Ivers to qualify out of that group, personally. I think Matt would win that group. Ivers just doesn't have an overall weakness. He doesn't have a standout weakness, so I think he'd be in the stone off, and I think he's probably the second strongest stone
He's
lifter to
showing
Matt
he's
Ragg.
in good shape right now.
Yeah, he's in good shape, yeah.
And I think he would. I think he's got a great chance of getting through any group in a stone off. To be
Yeah.
honest, I don't think he's quite good enough to maybe win in a group, win against any of the sort of major seeds.
No.
But Ivers is dangerous and
Yeah,
he's
he
a
is.
fighter. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the final this year. Better events this year in the heats for Ivers
Yeah,
as well than we've seen in the past. So this is interesting because I know who the seeds are going to be in this one.
Yeah, so, oh gosh, yeah,
It's-
so we know
it's
this
not
would
gonna
never happen. So it will be Tom Stoltman with Luke Stoltman would be our seed.
Can you imagine the uproar if this happens?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, technically they could both make the final together.
Well, yeah.
We already know from Europe's Strongest Man, these are great heat events for Luke.
They are.
So I would expect him to qualify out of almost any group. Rob Kearney, very good friends with the Stoltman brothers. Marcus Crowder. Adam Bishop.
And finally,
Evans Nana.
so we got Evans, Adam Bishop, Marcus Crowder, Rob Kearney, Luke Stoltman, Tom Stoltman.
That would be a bloodbath. I mean, that would be horrible.
That's a tough group. I mean, obviously, they're not going to put the Stoltmans in the same group.
No, it would never happen, but it would be interesting to see. Like, could Luke beat Tom on these events? Nickel stones? Yes. I think he could.
I don't know. I think it would be close between them on that one.
Deadlift, Tom wins.
Yeah.
Viking press, Tom probably wins. Yeah, Tom beat him when they did it at the Strongman
Tom's
Classic.
pressing has just gone to a new level
Yeah.
in the last year.
Sandbag steeplechase, Tom wins.
Tom wins that.
Yeah. And then car walk. Maybe Luke beats him on the car walk.
Well, I don't know. Tom's not too bad at car walk.
Yeah.
I think Tom won the medley a couple of years ago at Worlds in the final, didn't he?
Yeah.
He's improved on a lot of those events, and he's without question one of the major forces at Worlds right now.
Yeah.
However, Rob Kearney, exceptionally quick
Rob
when it
has
comes
some
to a
great
car
events
walk.
at Worlds, yeah.
Decent Viking presser, solid deadlifter. Marcus Crowder, good all-round athlete. Adam Bishop, extremely hard to beat on a deadlift ladder. Very, very fast and fit. He's looking good in training. I think he's going to be real good on the steeplechase.
Yeah, I was going to say good at loading.
Probably the
decent car
Viking
walk.
press is the one event that maybe holds him back in
Yeah.
the final this year. And Evans Nana. Evans is rapidly fast at things
On
like
car
the car walk. His athletic ability is really good when it comes to the loading events. So I think a group like that could be very exciting.
I think that would be the hardest group to call.
The group of death.
The group of death. We made one ourselves. Congratulations to us. Do you know what? I think actually these groups are quite balanced. I think these groups are better balanced than they were last year when people actually put some time and effort into it.
So what Auntie Liz is saying, we don't need to put the effort in. Just draw them out of a hat. We'll separate a few of the seeds and all will be good.
Apart from the fact that we drew Luke and Tom together, I think this works really well, personally. I mean, I know they're going to want a Brit in each group. I think that's like a contractual obligation with Channel 5. But other than that, I think we did a great job.
Have we got a Brit in each group?
No, we haven't. We haven't got one in this group here.
Anyway. It was a good bit of fun.
was
Saved us having to think too much about the groups this year.
Well, it's boring. It's predictable, isn't it? Because, all right, it's 5 there, 5 there.
One thing for sure, we know these will not be the groups for World's Strongest Man.
No, unfortunately.
We've kind of randomed them so much here that it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
We can guarantee a few things when it comes to the groups at World's Strongest Man. You will have an American in each group. You will have a British athlete in each group. The seeds
There will be
be
one
separated
group of death.
and may not be the same seeds that we have
No,
decided.
that's true, yeah.
So that's something to kind of take into consideration. But how long till we find the seeds? Last year we had to wait till all the athletes were at World's Strongest Man.
Yeah, and it will be the same now because everyone has to arrive. Everyone has to have their medical as well. So, I mean, the fact that Adam has literally just finished a competition, he's probably not even on his way yet. So we're going to have a couple of days. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Tuesday. No word on how they're going to announce this year. They've had videos the last couple of years. Well, last year we had Mitch. The stream failed. The year before, me, you and Terry did it.
Yes.
I've got a feeling this year it's just going to be an Instagram post, personally. I don't know.
As soon as we know, we'll bring you our predictions for each of the groups. I cannot do predictions for Worlds without knowing the groups. As I said, events and groups are so important when it comes to these things. Who's going to be up against each other? The fact there's a stone off is very, very important. You could look at 10 shows and I might think that guy wins 9 of them but doesn't win at World's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
So it all varies, it all depends on who's put against who. We'll bring you our predictions once we know them for sure. Hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Let us know who you think the group should be down below. Don't forget, like, share and subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back soon.